Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here. Got some breaking news. The Jaguars have fired defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell, according to multiple reports. Greg Allman of The Athletic had it first. Look, this is tough when things do not go the way you want them to in a season, when you have expectations to win your division, to win playoff games, and that does not come to fruition. You have an epic collapse down the stretch. Heads are going to roll. That's the way it goes. And it looks like Jaguars defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell is the first victim of this power struggle that obviously is going to happen when expectations are not met. So Mike Caldwell is out. He is a smart guy. I think he is a good coach. But he was an inexperienced defensive coordinator. Had no experience prior to coming to Jacksonville as an NFL defensive coordinator. Spent most of his career coaching under Todd Bowles as a linebackers coach. I think at times his inexperience showed, especially in year one. I also think that the philosophy that they had was a little backwards in today's game. You know, they talk about stopping the run as their main thing, and then you just kind of try to force offenses into bad situations. Third and long, etc. But I think coverage should be a bigger focus in today's game with your defense. I also think that if you're a team that is that focused on stopping the run, you need to stop the run more consistently than the Jaguars did this year. They had a tackling problem, in my opinion, both years. It was a team that struggled to tackle consistently. I think that there were too many issues over the course of the two seasons that Mike Caldwell was in Jacksonville from a defensive standpoint. And I also think, maybe the game plans weren't always super sound. When you look at the quarterbacks they're playing against, when you look at the strengths and weaknesses of the defense, I think they were overly aggressive with the blitz at times with this group. And I'm not saying you can't be an aggressive defense, but I think you also have to play to your players' strengths, and the Jaguars never really became a great blitzing defense. Even though they blitzed a ton, they were not super effective as a blitzing unit. And when blitzing is part of your bread and butter and it's not very good, that's a problem. I also do think that he is a bit of a scapegoat when you look at the lack of quality interior defensive line play this year. I think that's more on talent than coaching. The lack of edge depth is certainly more on talent than coaching. Obviously, you love Josh Allen. Trayvon Walker took steps forward in 2023, but beyond them at edge, not good enough. And interior defensive line, Trent Baalke signed Roy Robertson Harris to a big deal, signed Foley Fatukasi to a big deal. I don't think either of those players lived up to their price tags. And then, of course, with Devon Hamilton, you feel for Devon, you feel for the entire team with that situation. Couldn't be controlled, health issue to start the year, couldn't get back to full strength. And then the injuries in the secondary as well, right? Tyson Campbell injured for a lot of this year. Andre Sisco injured for a lot of this year. And when those guys did come back, they were not able to play at the same high level that you saw them playing at early in the year and in 2022. So, yeah, I do think there's a bit of scapegoat going on right now. I do think that there's, again, when there is expectations that are not met, things are going to change. Something is going to have to change. There's going to be a power struggle. Trent Baalke, I believe, is not going to lose that power struggle this year. He believes he got Caldwell the right guys on defense and that they didn't execute well enough, right? That the coaching wasn't good enough. They were an expensive defense, very expensive defense, one of the most expensive defenses in the league, with a ton of high draft picks and high-priced free agents, and they didn't get the job done consistently enough. And the defense, they were very good to start this year. They fell apart down the stretch just like the rest of the team. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Too often, though, when you look at the big picture with Mike Caldwell over the last 2 years, they just could not get the stops they needed to consistently enough and could not get off the field. We will talk more about this moving forward, but Mike Caldwell has been fired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. My guess is a veteran defensive coordinator who has been there and done that is someone who they try to target, right? I don't think that you're going to get another rookie defensive coordinator in here for the Jaguars because they do have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. They do have a lot of high priced guys that have been signed over the last couple years. They do have a lot of big time draft capital invested on that side of the ball. Trayvon Walker, first overall pick. Tyson Campbell, second round pick, early second round pick. Andre Sisco, third round pick. Devin Lloyd, first round pick. There's myriad guys, and obviously Josh Allen. They need to bring him back. They need to figure out how to bring him back. I don't think Doug Peterson's comments on that were super encouraging. He did say he wanted him to be a Jaguar for life, but the way that answer started was a little bit concerning in my opinion. But yeah, my guess is they go get a veteran defensive coordinator who has been here and done that, right? I think Wink Martindale is out there. Just parted ways with the New York Giants. I don't know if that's the direction you want to go. That's a defensive coordinator that traditionally blitzes a ton, like Mike Caldwell, but relies more on man coverage. And when you look at the strengths of the Jaguars secondary, man coverage is not among them right now. Darius Williams is a better zone cover corner. Tyson Campbell, a better zone cover corner. Trey Herndon at nickel, a much better zone player than man player. So how would that work out? If they do decide to go in that direction, I think you could see a lot of changes on the back end of that defense if that's the direction they want to go. Brandon Staley, probably not a very popular name right now, but that's a guy who is a great game planner. He has put together game plans on the defensive side of the ball, both with the Chargers and the Rams, that were incredible and they were stifling. And, maybe if he's able to just get back to being a defensive coordinator and get back to, where he made his hay in the NFL, you could get good results from that. There's a lot of veterans that are going to be out there, veteran defensive coordinators. I would be very surprised if it's not a veteran defensive coordinator because you tried it with the guy you knew, right? Mike Caldwell and Doug Peterson played together. They've known each other for a very long time. You tried it with a guy that you thought you could, kind of groom as a defensive coordinator, even though obviously Doug Peterson's an offensive coach. You thought that you could bring your guy in here who you've known a long time, who you really like. It did not work out. And again, do I necessarily think that Mike Caldwell is entirely to blame for the Jaguars' defensive failures over the last 2 years? Absolutely not. I think that, again, was not given a lot to work with in terms of the interior defensive line play this year, was not given a lot to work with in terms of the edge depth, had really unfortunate situations on the back end. So yeah, I think it's tough to entirely blame Mike Caldwell, but when there are power struggles, when there are expectations that are not met, heads are going to roll. And Mike Caldwell is the first head to roll here in Jacksonville. He's no longer the Jaguars defensive coordinator. We will cover this story throughout the rest of the week. Who is going to be the Jaguars' next defensive coordinator? That is the question. Is this the only move they make on the coaching staff? We will find out in the coming hours and days and see how the rest of this thing plays out. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop and pick up some new Duval gear. Y'all have a good one.